It's Jeff here again about learning Dutch in a week. And what are my conclusions about learning a language in this fast time? The first one is I've still got my linguistic fieldwork skills. That's really good after 30 years of, you know, uh, I don't use them as much as more in the detail that I did back then. And I do have, my colleagues in my peers in the field that do this a lot more than I do on a regular basis. So they keep up the skills, but I had not lost them, and my hearing's still good. So that's good. I play a lot of music, so I always wonder how my listening skills are and my hearing skills are. And as you get older, you can lose that. But I've got a pretty good ear for the phonetics, and that was good to recognize and to do. And I do protect my ears with earplugs too when I listen to music, at least in gigs and in concerts. So that helps. Another thing that I did was learn was the vowel system of Dutch is very complex. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's a hard language to learn. Well, it depends on what. So, from a phonology or phonetic and phonological point of view, yes, because it has a lot of vowels. Now, the consonants are vowel kind of. I consider it to be a consonant system that is very vowel heavy. What it does is the consonants are around a lot of vowels, so they're not as hard as they are in other languages. Now, it depends on the person pronouncing too, but I found that it had and I had quite a few people I was listening to, the uh, the native speakers. But the thing is, I did find it to be different than German. Very different from German. I mean, though they're both Germanic languages, uh, German has a lot more harder consonants. If I could, I'm trying to make it simple here. I mean, there are other ways to say this in linguistics, but the vowels are a lot more. There are a limited number of vowels in German that are, and the writing system. It's the correspondence between the writing system and in the actual pronunciation in German is much more exact. It's very similar to Spanish, actually. I'm not saying that they're similar in the number of vowels. I'm just saying the writing systems and the pronunciation are in similar situations. Okay, for those two languages, but Dutch is very different. The writing system is much more complex to master, or to be able to be a Jedi at it. Okay, so gotta be careful of that word, right? The but languages is difficult. Every language has its own difficulty, and it depends what language you're coming from, and the different languages and where you're going to, right? The target and the source languages too. And if you have got a, if it's your first language you're learning, if you've learned a lot of other ones. So I mean, this is I don't know what is in my list of number of languages that I've really spent a lot of time learning. Probably in the 10th. I'm guessing somewhere in the between 7th and 10th. I don't count them right. So, but it's somewhere in there. I mean, where I've spent a lot of time. I mean, there are other languages I know a little bit about, but this one I've spent a lot. Spent a lot more time on this. I mean, I've spent an intensive week, and that's a lot. So that's pretty important. It, I achieved my goals. I did achieve my goals, all of them. I don't. I can't say that I am. I'm a Jedi master at these things, right? I'm not, but and I need to practice a lot more to make it useful. But I did achieve a lot of the goals I wanted. And I was able to read at the end and pronounce it. That read and pronounce. I'm not saying reading. I'm talking not sight reading. I'm just talking. I need to pronounce it out loud. So that was tough. And a literary text that was not simple. Had a lot of hard names, difficult names to pronounce, and it worked. People did not laugh. They understood, and they were surprised. So that helped. That helped to qualify that from a qualitative point of view. The quality, it worked, right? So I met my goals uh, to a certain point. I mean, the goal is never ending, right? Uh, I did speak, so I mean that's a thing here. I would need to practice, like, right? If I go to stores and stuff, and I would get it down a lot more, right? If I was practicing doing things and going to Holland and doing all this, it would have been, I would have had a lot more. I would get a lot more practice at this, but so maybe this might be a trip to Holland, right? So sometime in the near future to go visit Amsterdam, see some colleagues I have fears I haven't seen for a long time, right? So that might be another thing to consider. Um, but it did help. Uh, It taught me another language. It's kind of exciting to be able to learn another language and to learn it fast. And I think that comes down to my last key point is that I kind of fine tune this methodology down. And again, it's a combination. I want to restate that and say again that I had fine tuned the training that I had in uh, intensive training on fieldwork linguistics, and I did that this summer in studying linguistics, and I actually taught there at the French branch too, and I taught this to people how to go into language, how to go into languages non-written or unwritten, traditional or unwritten oral language, and how to be able to figure out the language, and I taught that. And here I was able to really test that, but test it much more intensely in a short period of time on myself and with a person that was not a linguist. This is another thing. This person was an informant. Now, we did use English as an intermediate language to be able to communicate, and this does happen with linguists. Some kind of linguists, and they do have, like when they go work on some language in South America, they might be able to use either Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, or Spanish as an intermediary language to be able to figure it out. Sometimes they don't have that, and then like Africa, you might have be able to English or French to do that, or even Portuguese. There's kind of some you can have some intermediary language to help you, figure it out, right? What the words mean, all that. Sometimes you don't. So, but I did here, and I did have a writing system that I could work with. So I did have a few things that helped or hurt, depending how you look at it, because the writing system wasn't that easy, right? And then my kind of thing at the end, and I said to the person, I said, two things I want to finish with here. Uh, that I looked at the book on Dutch phonology, which I've already mentioned in the phonology kind of chapter of the series, and I found the book, and like I said, all my graphs were pretty close to what it is in the book. But it was really interesting to see that the book, at the end of the book, they had the chapter on orthography, that's spelling systems. And the book actually said, it was really funny. I should pull it up here. It's just hilarious what they said in the book. Do I have it up here? No, I don't have the book up here. They said that they said it's very unusual to put a chapter on the spelling system of language at the end of the book. Usually put the beginning. But what they said was, the author said that this spelling system is so complex that you actually have to know how to pronounce it first before you can actually work on the spelling system. And I was laughing because that's what I've been selling. I've been saying. So it totally that completely correlated. The linguist, and it took me just a few days to figure that out. Right. So that's encouraging from a point of view of a linguist. I had to figure it out pretty quickly, and I'm kind of excited to know that I've still got those skills to be able to do what I want to do. Um, and then uh, the couple of key takeaways is how can we simplify the language? I should probably join the we need to reform Dutch, the Dutch language, at least the spelling system, because I did say, and I think I've already said this in the earlier video, but it makes more sense now at the end. My conclusion is that I told my language instructor, who's not a linguist or anything, just I said we need to get the fun of the. You don't need both because they are they 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 don't contradict each other, and you can actually use one or the other, and it's understood, right? It is. So this is where you could really say it's one phoneme. We could classify as one phoneme, and it has just two different pronunciations depending what you feel like, right, and which side of the bed you got off of. I mean, there are some places where you might want to you can debate that, but really, I don't. You don't need both. So it's not necessary. Um, they do exist, but it's possible to get by, and that's for historical reasons, probably most likely. The other one, the he, and the ha, which are basically G and H, because the hard good does not exist. They're both ha, they both their two exist, and I said we can get rid of one of those two. Now this, she was agreed with me the f and the v, but she says not the ha and the hey. Now again, I only did it for 1 week, and I'm trying to figure it out quickly, right? I'm not becoming an expert of Dutch phonology or Dutch grammar. I mean, I'm not a Dutch syntactician or semanticist, right? But I think that it's possible to simplify, and the problem is that these languages have a history, right? And what you're trying to do is the history of it, and people they maintain the history of some things where we don't need to, and this is where language reform comes into place. A lot of people want to simplify, so we don't have to keep holding on to the history that makes it harder to learn. Now, that does simplify means that you make it easier for people to learn, but then you lose the historical aspect. So this is called etymology, right? This is studying of the word systems and all that. And so I'm not trying to say that we have to do things, but I'm saying it would be possible. And a lot of languages do have people that want to simplify them for make it easier to read and write. But it would create more difficulty for those that already have spent the time figuring it out and brought up in that language. So, but it makes it easier for other foreign learners to do that. But so that's my kind of my conclusion, and maybe I'll have some other ideas and I'll kind of insert the videos in between these. But these are kind of my key points of these videos of the series that I want to say about learning Dutch in 1 week as a linguist, as a fieldwork linguist. Thanks so much.